I'm glad to have Angel back. We tried last time, but we had some Mr. Producer. Put the camera on Mr. Producer.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties.
I take tips after the end of the show.
Yeah, Mr. Producer was actually out of commission that day, or out. He had a erectile dysfunction, so he couldn't make it. But censor this. Beep, beep, beep. Yeah, thanks for coming back, man. You know, we appreciate you. I know we're gonna get into some interesting stuff.
Yep, no, definitely. And well, it all depends how deep you guys want to get in. Oh, you know,
balls deep.
Yeah, we're gonna get all the way deep.
We're going balls to the walls. Is that good?
If it's answer, then we didn't go deep enough.
Yeah, yeah. This one should get us kicked off TikTok for sure. We're already almost there. So
yeah, we got 3 strikes on TikTok. One of them was because we posted a video of when Andrew Tate first got arrested. He put a video how he said that the first thing they'll do, they'll ban me online, then they'll try to arrest me, and then they'll probably kill me, right? So I was like, that's pretty interesting, and everybody was reposting, and I was like, all right, let me post it. Let me see what people were saying. Banned from TikTok. They said, I think it said it was hateful or something.
Yeah.
So then
hate speech.
So then what did we do? Then we went and put another video about 9/11. Something we I guess we consider conspiracy, or some people would say that. Scott was talking about it, and then we had some footage of like the buildings falling or whatever. Well, they said it was like what do you say? It was like
it was sensitive,
graphical or sensitive. I was like, all right, whatever. I could see that. Let's say
that's history, bro. That's not what.
But let's say they said
you notice they don't really show the videos of the towers getting hit or coming down anymore. Like when it happened, I remember they were showing it all over the TV. It was. Yep. I was in 5th grade. We were sitting down. The teacher put it on TV, and we didn't even do class for the first couple hours. We were watching TV, watching.
You guys just watching all the news.
Yeah. Basically, we're just watching the planes hit these towers from different angles. And, yeah, we're seeing all that. Like, crazy.
See, well, and that's why I figured it was fine. It used to be on TV. Like, the video footage, we got it from YouTube. The stuff that we found, and we're like, all right, cool, whatever. And then I don't know. I guess let's say there's kids on there and they want to protect it. I guess I could agree with that more than the last one that got taken down, which was, I thought it was like, I don't know if it's controversial or not, but I said, hey, look, they took Andrew Tate down because he's misogynistic. So then I said, what would it be fair to take down rap music for the same reason?
Well, that's the thing, though. You said it controversial. Nowadays, you cannot be controversial because that's hateful. It hurts people's feelings, and therefore you must change who you like, what you're saying or the way you speak, so you don't cater to their feelings. Especially, like nowadays, you can even say male or female, because now it's controversial. When 5 years ago was pretty straightforward, one or the other.
We didn't know that that was even a thing, right?
You need to know all these pronouns nowadays.
So now, everything gets controversial out of nowhere nowadays. Where we thought something was pretty straightforward or laid out, nowadays, if someone gets offended, then that's the end of it.
I think the worst thing you said on there was Andrew Tate. I think if you just had a code word for Andrew Tate, like Baldini, then you wouldn't get banned.
Start referring to him as Baldini, I guess.
The great Baldini.
Hey, watch out,
we should not mention.
Hey, we're gonna get moved because of hateful content towards bald people now. Watch out.
Oh yeah,
oh, man.
We love bald people, okay?
Are you talking about the follically challenged?
We love bald people. My mother-in-law's bald, okay?
Yeah, so is mine.
Nah, I'm kidding. Mine's not bald. She got here. But no, but that's the thing. So what they said that it got taken down for is hateful ideology. That's exactly what it's. I was shocked. I was like, "Are you serious, bro?" So
our idea is hateful.
I don't know, but
it's an idea. They
said I have hateful ideology.
Because you're a hater, bro.
I didn't even. It wasn't even my opinion. I just asked, "Hey, if this guy got banned for this, should it be universal and everything else get banned?" Of course, a lot of people. I don't believe that should be banned, but I was just asking the question.
Yeah.
But you're not supposed to ask questions.
It wasn't even in a statement. It was a question at the end of the day too, and they still nope.
You know how people get mad when you question, how dare you question my authority?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's really kind of what's going on. So and that's the same reason why last time when we were actually going to get into some topics. Who is really behind this? We all have a belief about who it might be. Like Andrew Tate would say, it's the Matrix or who, whatever. Everybody made up their own term, right?
Yep.
The shadow figures.
Well, that's the main thing. How everyone speaks, and the fact that we use different terms for, like, we try to refer to the same body, the same entity, you can say, but the fact that we use different terms, that's when everyone starts just going to, like, getting different angles from it, and then, like, we start attacking each other. Like, no, it's so-and-so. Like, no, it's so-and-so. And here we are separating ourselves down here, while that same body still runs the show. They don't really get touched due to our own distractions.
Yeah, it works out for them.
Yeah, because I mean, so like we all talk about, right? We talked about the elites. What is the elite or whatever? There's so many. When you say that, depending on who you're around, there's a million ideas what that might be. And then now I'm starting to believe, like, well, I don't know. I guess it's just a thought. It's like the elites or whoever they talk about, are they behind all the social media platforms trying to, like, send down their hateful ideology into us, like, or their ideology of whatever the world should be?
Yep, and that's exactly what it is. They're trying to reshape society. So right now we're going through, like, a paradigm shift where, like, the old world is dying, and we have all these prophecies that have been told through different cultures on that the world was gonna end. Not necessarily blow up, if not, like, the way we did things, the cultures, what we called the norm, that was gonna shift, and then we were gonna start entering, like, into a different paradigm. So the so-called elites, having a lot of ancient wisdom, they're trying to stir humanity, like, in whatever direction they feel like, due to the fact that they kind of understand.
What do you mean by ancient wisdom?
Well, that's the thing. Like, they understand the way reality works, the way things really operate, which goes back to, like, what we were saying earlier. Like, most of the things we know, we don't really know them. We were told them by our parents. When we were kids, they told us what was what, the names for things. So at the end of the day, we started believing and memorizing, but, like, the reality itself, like, that's when people refer to it as the Matrix, how there's, like, a overlay reality behind of what we perceive. So like, once you go to the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, all the empires that have fallen in the past, this, like, there was, like, that type of past 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, and then you have, like, the ancient past, which goes back to the times before the last ice age, where, like, there was, like, a cutoff on the record, so we don't really know, or we knew how things were and what they knew back then. But now, once you go to, like, Egypt, for example, so Egypt happened to be, like, the center of wisdom, like, in the Middle East area. So everyone went to Egypt to get wisdom. You had all the, like, the mathematics, you had astronomy, you had everything we have now plus more. They had the physics. They understood physics, like, just to build those pyramids, to build the structures.
That was gonna be my question.
They knew the physics behind it, and that's the thing. Like,
So
like, to most people, like, I used to believe that aliens built them. Why? Because based on what I knew then, that was the only logical answer. Like, the fact that we're told that we come from the monkey, so, like, we were ignorant. And then we evolved to now, peak of civilization, peak of society. But that was not really the case. So if we believe that we were at the peak, then obviously, if they were, dumber in a sense, then it had to be aliens. There was no other way.
Because there's no way we could have done it because we were dumb.
Exactly.
How did they understand all that?
So you're like half-ass monkey.
But if we consider that, what if they were actually more advanced than us, and we actually didn't come from the monkey, and we haven't been climbing up, but it was more as a descent, like a V, like, we were smart, we got dumb, and now we're kind of going back to remembering, not so much learning, but remembering what we used to know.
So do you feel like, because we say that all right, we talk about the elites or, like, whatever the idea behind is, you're saying that these people feel like they have a better view of the real world versus
better understanding
versus us with a perception built by what they manufactured and what they let us have. Like, hey, here's what the world is, but we know better. We're just not going to let you know.
Exactly. And those are the secret societies. So you had all these secret societies that gathered the wisdom, because back in the day, it was where you had to earn it. So you had to actually get initiated and go through the rites, which is kind of like the way the Masons are right now. Through their lodges, and then you got to get initiated and go through all the degrees all the way to the 33rd. And even that is numerology. So, for example, you have numerology, you have astrology, you have
gynecology,
sound, like I forgot the term for it, but the science of sound, pretty much, like the study of sound, and that's the main thing. Like, is it semantics? No. I forgot the term.
We're not that smart, bro.
Yeah.
We know nothing.
But,
we got a chat GPT
so sound,
right now.
for example, sound is the real deal for like the pyramids. How were they built with sound? So
I heard about that. I think they were talking about it on Joe Rogan.
Well, now science, like our science, the new science, has proven how sound can actually alter the mass of any object. So you can change the mass, the weight of the object.
Okay.
So you can have something that weighs 1 ton, and then you can shoot it with a certain frequency where you can actually manipulate the mass and make it weigh a gram while you're hitting it with the frequency, where you can actually pick it up with 1 finger, move it, and then release.
Have they shown that yet, or?
Well, there is a lot of experiments that are being done, and they're like sound. It's everywhere. Like they're finding out that sound is the basis of creation. And that's why the sound has been altered in the last 120 years or so. Like music, for example. All music is tuned to 440 hertz right now. Where like classical music, like the older music, was 432 hertz. So they bump up the frequency and it changes the way we perceive it. So back in the day, it was to kind of make you flow with creation, And now it's to make you go fast. So if you're at work, you're going fast. So
what kind of music should I play at work to calm down?
Any music that's
Lizzo.
Actually, there's a few artists that have tuned their own music to 432, but typically they're not with main labels, record labels, because the main record labels are financed by the same individuals that want you done.
So what about, like, you saw Kanye? He went down for like attacking the Jewish. He's blaming them for stuff like that.
Oh yeah, well, like Kanye, he's hitting some good points. Like he's actually going through his own expansion, his own awakening. But sometimes it's like a slippery slope. Like you can slip real quick because there is so much information that you start finding out, like how the past. It's nothing like what we believe, really. Like everything is made up by the same individuals that don't want you to know the true past. Because if you knew the true past, then you would know that you come from, intelligence.
So it's like
they know from the monkey.
They know how to keep control of the masses, basically and they've been doing this
through beliefs. I mean, through beliefs, because they literally put your mind in a box of beliefs, and that's our own little prison. Which is what the Matrix, like the movie The Matrix, was talking about. You live in an illusion, thinking, worrying about your job, about the daily things that you're told to worry about, which is, the debt. Most of 80% of the day, we're thinking about money because, we got to pay the bills, we got to keep the lights on, we got to eat, we got to do all these things. So everything revolves around the money. And then that's when you start going back to who owns the money? The same people. Who owns the music industry? The same people. Who owns the news? The same people. Who owns the pharmaceuticals? The same people. So that was when all the arrows start pointing towards the same direction. And once you see that, then you kind of understand that, okay, these guys are not really my friends here. Mm-hmm. So if they're the ones that are telling me what's real and what's not real, should I believe them? Maybe not.
And is this a money thing, or is it more of
money is the means, but it's more about awareness. Everything revolves around awareness. So it's about your attention. So if they can keep you entertained, you're a slave, which is what the Romans started doing, the Greeks started doing. So you entertain the masses, and then you can actually do as you please with politics, and you can run the empire or the country as you please. Do all corruption, it's green light. Why? Because no one is actually protesting, no one cares, because they're entertained. They know about who's going to fight, the next fight, the next match, the next concert, but once you ask, about the real things that actually matter, that have to do with you, with your livelihood, with your health, no one really knows. Because one, we're not told. And it goes back to the educational system. Who funded the educational system in the United States? The same people. So everything, the health, all the healthcare industry, like the pharmaceuticals, when allopathic medicine started in the early 1900s, it was the same people. Right there you had the Rockefellers. So they funded medicine, they ran oil back in the day, the educational system, they started getting in all the big industries, and that's when all this philanthropy started, which is BS, really. Like, it's just a title.
Like a claim for, like, helping people or whatever.
Well, it's a title to say that I'm just hella rich and I need to launder money and I need to actually, do something to gain power. You have all the philanthropists are just horrible human beings, really. There's not one that actually cares for humanity, that says, I have this foundation. Like, all these charity foundations are not for people. They're laundry money.
So what do you think about? So what do you think about Warren Buffett? Right, he claims that he's doing good. He's gonna start donating, and then now, or for a while now, he's been friends with Bill Gates. They're clicking up. There's a lot of talk about how they may be doing some things that are good, maybe not too good.
Well, I think, like, Warren Buffett, considering that he's on his way out, it gets to the point where you realize that, I'm not going to take anything. Like, I'm going to die, and none of this, like, not even the clothes that I'm wearing is going with me. So at that point, you kind of start detaching more from all the possession, all that ego kind of, mellows down. And, well, I guess in an interview, he was talking how everything is already kind of in his will, kind of spread out to charity. So, at that point, hopefully he kind of keeps his word and kind of goes forward and doesn't change his mind. So you think these
charities he's giving the money to, they're legitimate? They're going to do good
it all
with
depends actually, like, which foundations it goes to, because then you get to the same thing where you have a lot of like children's hospitals that are really, like they show us in the commercials, these images of children, and like they hit your emotions hard, where you're like, no, these guys, we got to give some money to them, but in reality, we don't really know what's happening with that money. And like cancer, like most of them are cancer because, society believes that cancer has no cure. So if we hit them with cancer, then they're going to just, empty their pockets. Cancer has a cure. Mm-hmm. So because we're not looking for a cure for cancer.
Everybody's feeling bad for people with cancer because they're like, oh my God, there's nothing they can do about it. But there's a lot of talk that there is.
And that's the main thing, though. Like, if you see how many millions get donated a year in cancer research, and it's like, dude, how about we stop wasting all that money and we start actually being honest? Because like, at the end of the day, the body's intelligent and the body can actually heal, but that means you don't need them. So instead of spending $250,000, $300,000 on chemo, you can actually heal yourself. So
how would you do that?
Well, you gotta get to the root, like to the root cause. Why do you have cancer? Because you try to go against it, but instead of going against it, if you were actually attuned with your body, you would actually detect it when it's in the beginning stages, which is inflammation. It starts with inflammation. So if we can actually focus on why we're so inflamed, then we can actually start reducing the cost.
Yeah. What are we putting in ourselves that's causing the inflammation?
Exactly.
Well, what do you think is the number one contributor to sugar? The sugar?
Sugar. Any chemo.
Artificial sugar?
Any sugar.
Or just sugar?
Any sugar.
Period.
So my mom used to have cancer.
Wasn't supposed to be in our body like
the
that?
Glucose, yes, but not so much. So our bodies can process roughly 30 grams of sugar a day. Pepsi has 38.
Damn, one Pepsi?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I think Coke has like 42.
What about the zero sugar ones?
Those even worse because they don't have sugar; they have aspartame.
Yeah. They're lying to me.
Yeah.
So
artificial sugar.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, once you see how much sugar you eat in a day, then you start understanding why you're so inflamed. Like, your joints get inflamed. Everything gets inflamed from within. And sometimes we're not, like, when you see someone that you say, oh, they're fat, they're not fat, they're inflamed.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like
there's a funny term in Romanian. It says umflat, which means inflamed.
Yep.
Or inflated.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
That's what it is. Like typically, like when we have, our gut is the main thing that gets inflamed most of the time.
You're inflamed, cousin.
I'm just
So typically, if you have cancer, you go to chemo, and even in chemo, the first thing they'll tell you is stop the sugar. So they'll tell you to stop eating meat, and I know this because my mom had cancer, and that's what
Did she
the
beat
doctor.
it?
Oh yeah, but she didn't. She went holistic.
What does that mean?
She didn't go like through the main medicine. She tried other more natural remedies.
My wife's aunt had I think last year they said she had cancer. She wanted some sort of juice diet, and I guess it cured a bunch of things. And I don't know. I think she might have even cured her cancer.
Fasting. I mean, you have Dr. Sebi, the doctor that got killed a few years ago by the Honduran government. He was Honduran too. So he actually beat the, I think it was the FDA. I believe it was the FDA, if not the medical board, one of those two entities. But he was taken to court, to the Supreme Court, because he claimed he was a doctor, Dr. Sebi. So they took him to court because he didn't have a medical license. So they were trying to say that he wasn't a doctor because he didn't actually get a doctor's degree. So, and his argument was he was a doctor because he was actually curing people. So he took everyone that he had treated for different diseases. You had everything that was incurable. Everything that the science tells us that it's not curable, that it's a terminal illness, he cured it with zero medicine, zero chemo, no treatments like that. All he did was fasting and different teas. Herbal teas.
Yeah.
But the fastings, it wasn't like a day or two. I mean, you anywhere from 3 weeks to 40 days, 45 days.
Non-stop?
Yeah, exactly. No, non-stop.
Well, the Jesus?
It's like a Jesus fast, yeah.
Well, that's what happens. So the fasting kind of helps you physically and emotionally and mentally and spiritually. So it kind of it's an overall healing process, really.
So what about when they say that if you don't eat or drink or whatever for too many days, you don't get sick or anything going through that fast?
Well, that's the clash between science, modern science, and the ancient wisdom. Because the ancient wisdom, it was you actually obeyed the natural laws. So the body has its own set of laws. So if you actually work with the body can do amazing things. Literally, the body is a machine. If you look at the way machinery works nowadays with all these hydraulics and pistons and everything that's going on, once you look at the body, you have the bones, the tendons, the muscles contracting and pushing, just like the hydraulics do on heavy machinery. Mm-hmm. So the body is a machine, but it's a self-healing machine. And it's literally the most advanced organism in the universe. Once you look at the DNA, how complex it is and how beautiful it is. So the body.
So you're saying it's designed?
It's
like
designed.
that?
Exactly. I mean,
So we didn't cover monkeys then?
No. And actually, science has proven that. So anthropologists have found out that roughly 200,000 years ago, there was a change in our genome. So something happened fast. So typically, they say Darwin said that, we came from the monkeys, and through millions of years of evolution, we started changing, and little by little, we changed into the Homo sapiens. So
Homo what?
Sapiens.
Who's that?
Us. Or
not me, bro. I don't know.
What are you trying to say?
It's no Homo. So that's the term for modern human.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So that's the theory we were told, a couple hundred years ago. So now they found out that 200,000 years ago, there was a change in chromosome number 2. So monkeys have 24 pairs of chromosomes. Humans, we have 23. So I don't know if you ever heard of documentaries or books or things called The Missing Link. So The Missing Link talks about the missing chromosome, on why we have a missing chromosome if we're supposed to have more, because we think that more is better. Oh. So because
monkeys got more. So why did we lose one?
Exactly. So, and what happened...
So that kind of debunks the whole idea.
So what happened is that chromosome number 2, there was a fusion. So there was 2 that became 1. And that's what allowed the the human at the time to start actually having speech, to be able to communicate, to have thought.
What about dogs?
They don't got how many? Every species have like different sets of chromosomes, but the fact like they compare us to the monkey because we were told we came from the monkey.
Oh, that's why they make the comparison. I was thinking, all right, well,
no, because there's animals that have it like in the 50s. Like every species has different sets.
Because I was thinking, you know how you see movies with dogs that speak? It's like if we switch the chromosome on the dog, can we get him to talk?
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You're just plug in some numbers.
So it's not like the gene therapy with the... I can't say that.
Oh,
what is that? You're not allowed to say.
Okay.
Because you get banned, all right?
We gotta get like a code word for that.
Yeah. Just call it the...
Yeah, let's not hop on that subject for now. We're going to get booted.
Call it the pickle.
The pickle. All right.
The pickle. There we go. I like that one. The pickle. Yeah, so that fusion. So now the question is, what happened? You know, for a change to be like... It had to take a few million years for that to change the way it did, but it happened all of a sudden. And there was also a change, I think, in chromosome number 7. So now we know that there was some sort of intervention. How? That's what we don't know. And a lot of scientists, you know, they don't want to go to the whole alien realm because then it kind of gets like on the conspiracy side. So there's...
so you believe aliens did it?
Yes and no. So like what like in what I think of aliens is not like what most people think of aliens.
They're not little naked people with big heads? Nah, that's fake. I don't believe you anymore.
No. So what I consider to be aliens, you know, we have different species. I mean, just think about it. There is no way humans are the only ones. I mean, like once you look at other numbers, there's just absolutely no way. And so that's through the science side, right? The reason why I don't believe the aliens to be the way they tell us, and I believe them to be differently, is actually, I guess you can say it's not fully scientifically proven, since it has more to do with shamanic journeying, where the entities you meet once you actually go into different realms.
What's that? Shamanic?
Yeah, like through shamanism. You know,
we don't know anything about that.
Okay, so like medicine men, you know, like once you look at the different indigenous tribes, you know, you always had the medicine guy or woman, which was the shaman, and then she was the one that healed people physically, and she was the one that healed them spiritually. So she was like the bridge kind of between the worlds, you know. So she would travel like to the upper world, to the underworld,
like a witch.
Yes and no.
So like an old hag.
Like what we understand as witches nowadays, you know, it's a huge misconception. Like for like the past few hundred years, you had actually innocent people being murdered because they had abilities that we all have.
So you're trying to tell me that they didn't fly around on brooms?
Yes, that's correct. There was no flying. I mean, there was a lot of
Halloween
healing,
town over here.
But it has to do with the ancient wisdom. So, like, once you look at the ancient wisdom, at the elites, the whole alien deal, like, everything goes back to our past. So if we can understand our past, then we can actually start understanding all of those things. And, like, for example, pharmaceuticals. The word, I think, is pharmakia. Pharmakia comes from the Greek, and it literally means witchcraft. And that's
because they heal people?
Well, because you use...
herbs?
Well, not herbs, but they have a term for it, like potions. You know, like you know how like you see like in a cartoon or even a movie, you have the witch with a big pot in the fire, and she's adding all these different ingredients.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that cartoon.
And then good she gives them like the soup or whatever, the broth to someone, and it has an effect. You know, so that's herbalism in a sense.
That's so funny how all these things that we know today, they have such a deeper meaning.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like there is layers to reality, and we live in the outermost layer, which is the fakest of the fake. And once you start going to the deeper layers, then you start actually seeing how everything connects, how everything is.
So what do you think? 'Cause it's like we're talking about like real world stuff now, and then they're talking about you probably heard about this, how they're going to the metaverse with the computers, and then they talked about maybe at some point being able to store your memory into a computer so you can live forever and this and that. Like,
well it's transhumanism. So that's what they want.
Transgender, actually.
Well, those are already here. No, so the transgenders have been here, but now we're going to transhumanism, where they're trying to like meld humans and machines, and it's gonna happen. Like,
you really believe it?
No, RoboCop? I don't believe it. It's going like, for example, J.P. Morgan said that millionaires did not believe in astrology, that billionaires did. So once you look at the stars, you can actually, it's like a map. You can actually use it not only to navigate the ocean, to navigate life. So once you look at the map, for example, here's a quick example. I'm going to use some astrology terms. You guys might not understand, but I can explain if you want. So each planet, for example, in the horoscope, everyone says, I'm a Gemini, I'm a Taurus, I'm this, I'm that. So we use it. So we have some like very little knowledge of it, and we intuitively we believe it. But then once we actually, like, if someone asks you, okay, what does that mean? Then you kind of like brush it off because you don't really understand it. But a part of us believes it. So what it means, for example, I was born in May, so I would say I'm a Gemini. So what that means is that my sun, like the sun, it's in Gemini. So in the solar system, you have the sun, you have the moon, you have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Like, so there's a bunch of planets. So each planet has a sort of pull energy that affects us. So the sun has one energy, and that energy, like for me personally, is in Gemini. But Mercury is also in a sign. Venus is in a different sign. So once you actually look at all the different planets and the signs, and in which section, in which quadrant of the sky they're on, it changes their meaning, the energy that they kind of put off. And that's the way things start kind of shifting in reality. So if you can actually understand that, then you can actually predict things. So an example is in 2020. So for the last decade, a lot of astrologers were talking that in 2020, something was going to happen that was going to shake the world. That it was going to like push like the e-brake on the planet. No one knew what it was, but they knew that there was something to happen, which was the pandemic. That's when it started. Yep. And the way they knew this was, like I said, each planet represents something. So you had Saturn, the planet Saturn, which is, it represents the structure of our daily lives, the father figure. So, just how your father told you to do things, and if not, you would get a whooping. That's Saturn. That's the type of energy Saturn has. So you had the structure of your life. And then you had Pluto, which is the destroyer, death and rebirth, the one that just collapses things and brings them back better. So you had those two planets coming together. So they knew that the structure of our lives was going to get destroyed or rebirthed. How? They didn't know. And then there was a third planet that came in the conjunction, which was Jupiter. And Jupiter, is being the biggest planet, is the expander. So it multiplies things. So if you had that type of energy already come in, multiply it by 100. So they knew something big worldwide was going to happen in 2020 that was going to shake the structure of our lives. And boom, the pandemic happened.
A lot of people are also thinking that the climate has changed a little bit.
It has. And it will continue.
It's been changing.
Exactly.
Well, what I noticed is too, like, that was like in California, at least here where we're at, it seems different. The rain, this.
Well,
I was in Vegas a few days ago, and bro, it was freaking snowing over there. You seen that?
There, yeah. It was snowing in Vegas.
Bro, it was snowing. Everybody was like, "This is not real."
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, the climate has always been changing. And you know what's funny? They went from what was it? The global warming, right?
Yep.
And then everything started to get cold, and they're like, "Oh shit! Well, we can't call it global warming. Oh, climate change. Well, no shit. The climate's changing. It keeps changing."
So then what happens with the global warming if it gets cold now? Like what? Because it seems like it's cold everywhere.
They
gonna
changed
get cold.
Definition. That's it.
What happens when you get a fever?
You get hot?
First you get the fever, and then you get the chills. So the planet itself is going through the process. And once again, the whole climate change is tied to the cyclical patterns of the planet, which is what caused the last ice age. So we are going through the same patterns again, and it ties to the same people. Like, for example, who brought about global warming? Who brought about climate change? The same people. So they know
liberals.
Greta.
God damn it.
Well,
Greta.
who does Greta?
She was
work
the poster for him. Yeah,
exactly. So at the end of the day, they know that humans are gonna notice there is something shifting. But if they can actually give you some ideas to kind of ponder and kind of entertain you with those ideas, then you won't look at the real cause of the change.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to distract us from what's really happening by giving us something random to chase.
Exactly.
You know what I saw today? Well, I don't know where I seen it. I saw it somewhere online. It said that a piece of the sun broke off.
Oh no, that's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
I just saw it on the news.
The sun is made out of gas.
What was it?
The sun is made out of gas, so it's not solid.
Oh,
so it cannot break off.
Yeah.
So what happens?
Oh, I didn't know that.
So the sun,
See that?
the sun on a daily basis throws solar flares.
yeah.
So it's actually throwing chunks of energy out, but it's not necessarily a piece of itself. It's just like vomiting in a sense. And it's literally all that energy hits the planet, hits the magnetic field, and then the field. I don't know if you ever heard of the aurora borealis.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like in the northern lights.
Yeah, like Canada, those blue and
green and blue and like
it's like magic
pink. So it's plasma. It's literally the sun's energy being seen.
No way.
Because it's interacting with the magnetics of the planet. And the best part of it is that the magnetics of the planet interact with your own magnetics. So our heart emits an electromagnetic field, and that the outer field, the planet's field, affects our field, and our field rewrites our DNA. So our DNA is constantly shifting and mutating, you can say. And scientists that were worried about, because they knew during this time there was going to be an increase in solar energy. And actually, because you have solar energy and then you have cosmic rays. So you have energy being emitted from the center of the galaxy that's bombarding our sun and is making our sun change. And if our sun changes, then the sun makes the planets change. And now it's proven that every single planet in the solar system has changed its weather patterns. In Venus, I think they said the wind in the storms are over 400 miles per hour.
On that planet?
In Venus, yes.
How do they measure that?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Nah.
Right, at that point, you got to ask the ones bringing out all this data.
China with their weather balloons, they just set one out over there.
They should, no, they'll shoot it down.
Yeah, don't talk about
I think I'm not sure if it's Uranus or
it's Uranus, bro. Not mine.
or nowadays they call it Uranus.
Yeah.
What's that?
Okay.
It's a politically correct way of
I'm about
saying
to
it.
start using that
or
term.
Neptune, but one of those two planets is actually a thing changing rotation. So there is like literally the entire solar system is changing, and the Earth is also changing. But now they're gonna say the humans contaminated the Earth so much that it changed the whole solar system. You know, so all that change, it's due to all that energy that's bombarding all the magnetics, and that's what's changing our DNA, which was changing the kids. I'm sure you, with your kids being so little, I'm sure you notice that they're smarter than we used to be.
I feel like my baby's smarter than me.
Oh yeah, no, it is.
Right now.
They are. Like,
yeah, but I've seen some babies that are stupid as hell.
Yeah,
Well, they would have been even dumber 10 years ago.
It's
There's a
actually
doodle bot running around.
all that issue goes back to the same people. Vaccines. Not necessarily the mRNA vaccines, but just vaccines in general. Like if you actually look at the ingredients in the vaccines and the amount of vaccines they put in a kid, you start to put together why there are so many autism, for example, a neurological problem. development problems, speech delays.
So one thing I read about this in a book recently. I forgot what book it was I read about. They're saying that whole theory of the autism being linked to vaccines was actually, the research was funded by a guy who had something to do with, I don't remember how, but he was making money off that.
Of course. Well, that's the problem. All this research gets funded by the people that want to keep the truth hidden. So they're paying researchers to not find the truth.
Well, this one, it was actually this one. The interesting thing about this was, it was the opposite. I guess this guy who funded this research was an anti-vax guy, who made it seem like they did some kind of research to prove that it turned kids autistic. But some people are saying that whoever funded that research was actually anti-vax, and they did it on purpose, which meant that it might have been fake.
Well, but that's
so you mean he did the wrong research?
He did the right research, but he actually found the truth, which the other party didn't want to be found. So you have to kind of take the credibility away. So that's what I'm saying.
Cause have you noticed that all these little guys are always going to find like scientific proof of things, cures, whatever, and then all of a sudden they just fall off and you don't hear anything from them ever again?
Well, why do you think? Because if they want to kill you off before you're too big to have a voice, that's why I feel like a lot of people get canceled because of stuff like that. But one thing that's kind of interesting, you mentioned the energy, the planets, and all that. What kind of effect does that have on like people's health, I guess you could say?
Actually, there's a lot of science behind all these studies that correlate like strong solar wind to heart attacks. So it can actually, because think about it. So the whole universe is electromagnetic. So that means there's two things: magnetism and electricity. Our bodies are bioelectric. So our biology runs on energy. You have the cell, the mitochondria, the cell that creates the ATP, which is energy, electricity. And then you have your whole brain that runs on electricity. Your nervous system runs on electricity. So we run on electricity too. So if you have all this different energy coming in, and especially different energy than what we were born with. So one example of the shifting of things that absolutely no one talks about, and it has the biggest impact in our daily lives, is the fact that you have the magnetic poles. We have a North Pole and a South Pole. They're moving, they're shifting, they have been shifting, and they will continue to shift. So right now the South Pole has left completely Antarctica. So we used to think that you have Antarctica in the south, so the pole was kind of dead on center. The pole has escaped the continent. It's already in the ocean.
So now the Earth is rotating differently, or
that's the thing. Those are the magnetics.
Oh, okay.
So it's the energy, not necessarily the actual the physical North Pole. And you have two different North Poles. You have the magnetic North Pole, and they call it true North Pole, which is the location. So the location that you used to have the North Pole in, that's the true, but the magnetic has shifted. So like people think that they're shifting like this, which now science says that it has happened before, that the poles have shifted like just drastically in the past. But what's happening now is that the North Pole and the South Pole are actually coming closer together. Like the way they're moving, they're going towards Siberia. That's kind of like
so they're both moving towards each other instead of like around.
That's weird. Why?
Yep. Well, because they're recalibrating.
Why?
So like I mentioned. So the magnetics are like an antenna. The old TVs that you had, those old antennas that sometimes it wasn't working, so you would move them,
recalibrate it real quick
to get the signal. So that's exactly what's happening. Okay. So you have all this different energy that's coming in, that's making the magnetics shift to recalibrate them, and that's what's gonna bring about the new era. The new world.
The planets and the energy from the planets is what's messing that up?
Not the ones from the planets. So the energy that's shifting the entire solar system It's not necessarily the energy from the sun, coming out of the sun, if not the energy that's hitting the heliosphere. So the heliosphere is the magnetic of the entire solar system. So, you have the sun and with a huge magnetic field. And then within that huge magnetic field, you have all the other planets, and each one has their own little magnetic field around it. So the huge one, the heliosphere, is the one that's getting bombarded by the cosmic energy. And the cosmic energy is so strong that scientists thought that we were going to start mutating. Because they said that since we've been here on this planet, we have never been bombarded by such high energy. It's been always lower. And I think it was like 2018 when I read this paper that apparently we used to be like you have the galaxy. The galaxy is spinning the whole time. It's a spiral galaxy. So in science, they teach us that the sun is kind of static in the center, and you have the planets going around it. Mm-hmm. But what they don't tell us is that the sun itself is actually moving around the center of the galaxy.
So it's like our universe is like a planet around the sun.
The whole thing is in motion. Like the whole thing is in motion. Sitting. And that's actually ancient wisdom. Nothing rests. Everything is forever in motion. So all the whole motion, apparently the sun, the whole solar system was inside of some sort of cosmic dust cloud. So we were in this cosmic dust cloud for thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. And now we're exiting the cloud. And apparently the cloud was the one, like a shield, blocking all this cosmic energy coming from the center of the galaxy. So now that we're out of the cloud, now we're getting just bombarded by that energy. And it's so high, like there's like ranges of energy. So the highest is gamma. Gamma energy is like the highest of the highest. It, like for us, is radioactive because it's too much for our bodies. So that's the type of energy hitting us right now. And they believe that we're going to start mutating. So scientists believe that, since we're physical beings, we're going to start, growing a third arm or, just true, weird mutations. But the mutations are actually happening in our DNA. And those mutations, what's happening is they're activating the dormant DNA. What has been labeled as junk DNA is not junk. It's actually dormant, taking a break.
What does that mean, taking a nap?
So out of the entire genome, out of all the DNA, 5% roughly is what codes the whole body. So DNA is coding, literally just like the coding you need for the algorithms, for everything. So the DNA is the coding of our biology.
Mm-hmm. Like the blueprint.
Exactly the blueprint, but it's our biology, our emotions, our thoughts, everything. 5% of the whole DNA codes the body. And then the other 95% takes care of everything else. But since we don't really use it, it's been sleep. And since it's not doing anything, science called it junk because it's just kind of useless. It's not useless. It was just not activated. All this energy is activating it. And all this activation, it brings about wisdom. Literally, store wisdom that we have in our bodies. And that's the wisdom that the elite don't want to be out because it's the wisdom that we all carry. And that wisdom has to do with what we consider past lives. So life after life, all the experience you build gets encoded in there. So all your memories, all your phobias, there's kids that are born that have phobias of spiders, of heights, of different things.
Or of homos.
That's another one. Homophobics.
Yes.
Nowadays, you get labeled real quick if you mispronounce a pronoun.
Right. So all the like you were saying, all this is coming out, and then this is one thing that I was very interested to find out when I tried to look up, because a lot of people talked about the Illuminati or whatever, right? So then I said, okay, well, what does that even mean? And then I went and I searched it, and it said something about the Enlightened ones, and I was like. I went to the office the other day, well, just like a while back, right? I was like, hey, I'm Illuminati now. And they're like, what are you talking about? Because they thought it was like something bad. I was like, it says it's the Enlightened ones. I was like, I'm the Enlightened one right here. Yeah. So, because I was just playing off of it. But Tell me about that. What do you think of that?
And it goes. So enlightenment was the attainment of the wisdom, the self. So they call it realization. So you realize who you are, and that's where the whole concept of know thyself. So once you go back to the Romans, to the Greeks, the whole know thyself deal was huge, because everyone kind of understood that we were so much more that we were led to believe, and our magnificence, you can say, it's hidden in our missing link in our chromosome. So the pair of chromosomes that we're missing, it's there, we just can't perceive it. Just how we cannot perceive most energy in the room, we can't really see it because it's multidimensional, you can say. And that's what it's kind of the seed of the divinity that we are. Like we're descendants. Religion says, some religions say that we came from Adam and Eve. Others say that we came from, for like Navajos, indigenous people, they say that we came from other planets. So they literally, they can point out to a star system that we came from.
It sounds like to me, it's kind of like when we talk about perception, it's like we all kind of have a different perception of the same thing. It sounds like.
Yes.
Like everybody's like, okay, like let's say if we talk about religion, then we're like, okay, religion tells us one thing, and then the other one tells us a different thing, and then at the end of the day, everybody kind of feels like they're talking about the same thing, but everybody feels like they're talking about the same thing, but they look at it in a different way.
Well, it's literally the same thing. The only difference is that it has been, for example, if you were living in the Greek times, and then you actually went through the process of realization, you did what had to be done. Because it's not easy to get there. Like we have the potential, but there is some real sacrifice that you got to do. So if you actually went through it and attained realization, the way you would interpret it would be way different than someone from the Egyptian empire. If you go back to Sumeria, if you go back to the lost history, Atlantis, and all that. So throughout different periods of time, people that have connected with the same divinity has, let's say, language. Like the word we use for the divinity now is God. And if you go to the Middle East, Allah actually means the God. So Allah is not the name of a being that they worship. It means God. So they're worshiping the creator. Just it happens that in their language, you say Allah. You don't actually say God or Dios in Spanish. So we have different words. So
just a different translation of that word.
Exactly. So imagine.
But essentially, everybody is thinking in their mind about the same thing.
Well, they're just saying God.
It's right. I mean, for question, why do you think humans are the only species that are looking for a creator? Do you see any monkey praying?
Because we're designed. We're the only intelligent.
Because we're descendants. We are so we have that. We have a piece of that divinity within us, and it's kind of like a inner knowing that we're trying to look for home. Mm-hmm. We're trying to, in a sense, go back home. So once you look, for example, in Hinduism, their concept is that the soul kind of, you have God, the all, the source, and then from there comes all these individual souls that are actually, kind of seeking to go back home. So you split off, you start your journey through time and space, and which can take hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions of years, since there's no time in those realms. So the soul has to kind of remember its way back home to the source. And you kind of you separate yourself, and then you start from zero, from scratch, from ignorance. And then you start life after life after life, remembering, experiencing, creating cause and effect, karma, and just build on. And, once you attain enough wisdom, which is kind of stored in your DNA, then through that wisdom, you start in each lifetime remembering more, and kind of advancing, and it gets to the point where you accumulate enough wisdom that you can actually start realizing, remembering who you are.
Why do you
Buddhism?
Hinduism.
Hinduism?
All of them actually. Buddhism. And the only difference is the name. So in Buddhism is nirvana. In Hinduism they call it samadhi, is the actual experience, but the name they have for God is Brahman. So you have Brahman, because in Hinduism you have like different sects. Like when I was learning this, you know, it was so confusing because I thought it was kind of like just one big religion, but it's just a bunch of different religions really put together.
In Buddhism
and Hinduism.
Well, that's
Buddhism came from Hinduism.
Really? Wow.
What India and Nepal and Tibet, they're like in India. So.
So one thing I'm super interested in is like I've actually watched some documentaries, and there's so many religions out there, and then some of them actually praise like animals. I actually seen one to where they're drinking water out of a bowl that the rats were drinking out of or swimming in, because they like praise the rats as a god. Have you seen that before?
I have not.
Well, in India they worship cows.
Actually, right? No. So in India, the cow itself, they consider it sacred.
Oh.
But so for example, in the Americas, like in Peru, in South America, the name for the earth is Pachamama. So they referred and actually what it means, Pacha is a word that it means space and time. So it's our mother in space and time. So understanding that we are in a temporary journey and we're kind of, you know, the planet is here to kind of take care of us. So we're like in a symbiosis. We're kind of in this relationship with the planet. The Greeks called it Gaia. So
why the cow though? Why the cow?
Well, because the cow gives you milk. It gives you ghee. It gives you cheese. So it was nourishment. So since the planet nourishes us so we can thrive and survive, and the cow was the main animal that was nourishing them, so it's symbolism. So they use, like, the cow represents nature.
Oh, I see. So they try to like almost like Mother Nature, like
exactly.
It's giving you milk, cheese. So you've seen, I don't know. Have you heard about the Liver King by now? There's this guy called the Liver King.
I think I've heard.
So you should look it up. It's actually pretty interesting.
He's an imposter.
No, he's actually a really good guy. But he went on his website. He has something that they call the 9 ancestral tenets, I think. I'm very interested to find out what you think of it, because it's got a lot to do with, like, he talks about like the almost like the how we're supposed to be and we're designed to be. He's trying to teach you a way of living that life again.
Yeah, but he's talking about more of like you as an animal type.
Well, let me show you what he has like 9 things he talks about.
He's talking about some spiritual mind.
Well, it's all connected, really. We have a physical body, so we have to nourish the physical body. Mm-hmm. We have an emotional body. We have a mental body.
So the reason why I asked about that, I get all that, but I was trying to go back to the health thing. Because you remember we started this conversation because I was asking the planets, the energy, does it have something to do with maybe even us being healthy? Because one thing I actually found out from 2 people that I look at and I feel like, okay, they're pretty reputable, and he talks about this a lot, but they talk about how we don't connect with the ground, we don't walk on earth, and we should be
grounding. Well, grounding is huge. Why? Because we're bioelectric. So what happens if you go, right now, let's say you're going to go to the store, okay? And you're going to hop in your car, but before you hop in your car, you pop the hood and you disconnect the ground.
You're not going nowhere.
So the energy, the electricity is malfunctioning at that point, right? The computer doesn't get enough energy, so it doesn't start. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the body. We're disconnected. So our shoes actually cut us off from our grounding. So there is actually a study where someone tried to measure how much energy came in. So they know that as soon as you step on the ground or on the grass, on the dirt, not necessarily concrete or asphalt, but actual earth, there's electrons flowing into your feet, come into the sole of the feet. And the electron is actually electricity. That's the part of the atom that actually creates or contains electricity. The electricity that we're using right now came from the atom, from the electron. So all those electrons come into the body, and the fact that we're electric, then it just makes everything work.
Is that kind of like when you walk by somebody and shock each other? Does that mean you're over-energized?
Static.
Exactly.
Oh, static. That's different.
That's rubbing on a carpet and then touching somebody.
But that's still
friction.
energy,
it's
right?
friction.
It is.
Well, it's spark. So it creates a spark.
So what? Can you put this on the screen really quick? I wanted to show you guys the 9 ancestral. I wasn't even reading it properly, but ancestral means like back in the day. Yeah, right. Tenants, right? So he talks about the importance of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about the food that we eat, how natural should be. He talks about having to move.
Yep.
Shield. I don't remember what he talks about.
Protect from the. So right now I'm studying traditional Chinese medicine and protecting from the elements. Protection from the elements, from the climate. It's one of the huge points of how to prevent disease. So
look at what he's saying here on this. It says the 4 ancestral tenet is shield because we need to avoid dangers just like our early ancestors did. But instead of running from lions, nowadays we run from seed oils, excessive Wi-Fi, EMF. What's EMFs?
Electromagnetic frequencies.
Okay, and then made of poisons.
Ghosts or that.
So he's talking about start turning off your Wi-Fi.
She's actually. Well, did you hear what he said?
What did you say?
About the EMFs. So remember how I mentioned we live in an electromagnetic universe. So EMFs are electromagnetic frequencies. So there are certain frequencies that we can find within the universe. And with EMFs, with equipment that detect EMFs, it's typically what everyone that does paranormal activity search.
Ghost hunters.
Yeah. So through EMFs, through electromagnetic frequencies, you're picking up ghosts. So what does that tell you about them? What does that tell you about the universe? And what does that tell you just about energy? For example, radio frequencies. Can you see them? They're here right now.
That's true, huh? Like you can send even the phones like through nothing.
So that's what he's talking about.
Wireless.
So why is he saying not to wear perfume? That's kind of weird.
So perfume contains over 100 chemicals that are.
It smells good.
Well, they're all synthetic. So all the synthetic, especially like Downy, all these detergents, horrible, because all those beautiful smells that every time you walk into the laundry room, you get hit with that smell of like clean clothes, or we associated it with clean clothes because that's what we use. But all those fragrances are actually extremely harmful to our endocrine system, which is our glands. The endocrine system is the system that creates the hormones, all the different hormones like your thyroid. You have the pineal gland, the pituitary gland. So they're all glands in our body, but they're actually energy centers. So I'm sure you heard of the word chakra before from Hinduism. So chakras are energy centers, and physically, if you cut up in the body, you'll find a gland and a bunch of nerve endings there. So those are the glands that produce the hormones that regulate the way your body functions. And all those fragrances are actually disrupting the endocrine system severely. And that's why people start gaining weight, can't lose weight, start having all these different disease because the hormones are everywhere. For example, and it affects your mood. For example, when a woman, it's in their period, their hormones are everywhere. They have mood swings. They start just being irritated. So it has to do with who we are really. And if you have all these chemicals disrupting it, making it either too active or not active enough, then you start being in disharmony.
So just smelling a chemical is enough to do that then, huh?
And that's why they recommend essential oils. So essential oils come from nature. All these fragrances they're harmful. Oh, okay. And you have a perfume that I think there are some that can have up to 500 different fragrances.
Do they have any natural perfumes out there?
There's natural everything, like toothpaste, there's deodorants. For example, deodorants, they have fragrances, they have aluminum, and aluminum is the main cause of Alzheimer's. So every time you put aluminum through your body, aluminum foil, even cans, so there is parts per million that start going in, and it goes into the blood system, and then as the blood flows through the brain acts like a filter, and all the aluminum starts being caught in the brain, and once you get old enough, then you'll have Alzheimer's.
Dang. What? So here, so what do you are looking at everything here? This looks like a good deal, right?
Yep.
Looks legit.
It's a good deal.
No, I mean look at all the things that he's promoting.
The fight that the fight?
The fight. Let's see what that is. Okay, let's see. You got it on the screen? They evolved fighting, hunting, protecting, struggling, preserving, and eventually winning. And then it says when we win, we get rewarded with a boost of dopamine and androgen. Is that what it says?
Androgens. Yep.
In modesty, there's not a whole lot of natural opportunities to put yourself in a harm's way, to overcome the real struggle, to really fight for something of value. So as I believe, for us to really thrive, we have to possess a type of high courage to continue to fight for something meaningful, and foster inner fire and so what is he getting at here? So basically he's trying to say to challenge yourself. Is that what he's trying to get?
That's what it sounds like to
me. It kind of looks like that inner fight, you know.
To kind of have that spirit, like.
Well, he's talking about fighting for something, working for something.
So he actually, let's
when
see
you
what
succeed,
he says.
You get that dopamine.
Let's see what he says, because he's got a video right here. Is it on? Let me see. All right.
Is fight, aka don't be a little bitch, because men evolved fighting, hunting, protecting, struggling, persevering, and winning. And when we win, we get rewarded with a boost of dopamine and androgen and more things that cultivate such behavior. In modernity, there's not a lot of natural opportunities for men to put themselves in harm's way, to overcome real struggle,
is that,
to really fight for something about it.
Like the
I believe for
release
us men, to really
of those
thrive,
chemicals.
we have to possess a type of high courage, to continue to fight for something meaningful, to foster an inner fire, to take real risks, and to continue to create ways to win.
Look for example, when you're taking risks, you know, there is like that adrenaline that starts coming.
The challenge. So
it's kind of like you start kind of challenging yourself. You start pushing yourself.
I think he's talking more about like be a man, do manly shit. It's more like something to pump people up than he's talking about like the chemical reaction that it does to your body.
He says that here I just did one of these tests right here. I want to see what you think about, because I actually just had this done. So there's this company called 10X Health. They talk about how they take a gene.
You paid $600 for that shit?
I did.
Well, my god,
that's where.
So you see how they said 10X health gene testing, $600.
Bro, Ancestry.com does it for like $30.
That's not what this is, bro.
Those
this
are
is legit.
the like dangerous when it comes to DNA. Well, China literally announced that they have DNA banks. So China has been storing everyone's DNA, and with DNA you can clone someone like that. There's actually this.
So I can make a new me, bro.
Well, not so much a like
with
just with your body, like a physical representation of you, or they can make a clone to test on.
So grow extra organs? Is that what you're trying to get at?
Well, you can actually grow anything.
I need an extra liver.
Anything.
Are you sure about that?
Except for that.
No.
You get what you get.
For example, and with epigenetics, you can actually, and they're promoting it. There's commercials about it where you can go and order a baby. So you can put in an order on how you want your baby to look, how tall you want it to be. Everything, all the details that you want to include, and they can actually create that.
That's kind of cool,
genome.
no?
Well,
like if you want a new baby.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day,
like your old baby want a new one.
Like, I don't like this one.
Hey, this one's out of pocket.
They're free. You can make them hell fast.
See,
it only takes like 9 months.
Well, so let me tell you what.
Pre-order quickly.
Look, this is a funny ass thing, anyway, right?
Hold on, what did you pay $600?
Okay, so let me tell you what the idea behind this is. You get this thing, and they look at your genetic. What is it called? Not your genes. It's not about your genes. It's about. Hold on, I had the term right here. Hold on. It's called the methylation.
Is it going to tell you if you're black or not? And what percentage?
It's not about that. It's not. It's
So
not.
does it kind of give you a breakdown?
They're
on,
gonna
like,
look at
what
the-
would
Can I say that?
make your body healthy?
So what
Yeah, it's
they're
supposed to tell
talking.
you what you're like, what you have
what you
a
should
good amount of,
eat.
and what you're deficient in
So they're-
for all the nutrients and all that stuff.
Okay, this
supposedly.
guy, what he's talking about, he's saying that. Shit, I don't know,
Okay.
bro. Like, if there's a little video, it'd be cool to show you guys. But
This is a good business. We
basically,
should start that.
anyway, basically the idea. This is kind
They
of why I
already
got
10x'd it.
What they're saying is that this guy, he'll get your, he'll do, I guess in your DNA, and not the DNA we think of, because I guess there's two types. One that, long story short, the test is supposed to tell you what type of compounds and things your body absorbs that it's supposed to transform into things you need. Where there's a malfunction, and treat that specific malfunction versus taking blood pressure pills, for example, or certain things. I guess they're saying fix the actual problem with what it started, not like the effect of it.
Yep.
For example, they say that Dana White was on 3 different blood pressure medications. He got with them, and then they said that they figured out he had a hormone somewhere down there, something that wasn't really transforming where it should be, and they treated that thing specifically. And actually, you can see, bro. Like, look at Dana White now. He's skinnier, looks better, healthier. Like, so they're doing something good. And then they're also promoting the cold baths. They're promoting the magnetic thing, whatever magnetum. Some kind of magnetic
Magneto.
machine to give you like that energy that if you walked barefoot.
Okay, so it simulates the ground, like a grounding.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then they're also promoting, saying that we need to have a lot of oxygen in our blood. So supposedly they're saying that a lot of us are like lacking the proper amount of oxygen.
We don't breathe. We are not conscious of our breathing. So, and once you look at all these modalities, everyone, like when doctor, you can go to doctors, you can go to spiritual teachers, you can go to different fields, and the breathing, everything is based on our breathing. You know, if you're gonna meditate, you gotta be aware of your breathing.
I damn near forget to breathe sometimes too.
Me too.
Oh, we all do. Like, we're so cut up.
In my sleep, I got sleep apnea.
Yep.
So look, the funny thing, one thing that's super interesting is that he was saying, this guy who kind of came up with the concept, he said he's a human biologist. So he's saying that the reason why a lot of things fail in our bodies, like even organs or whatever, is for the lack of oxygen, because your body starts to deteriorate faster without the oxygen. And since we're all deprived in it, you know.
How you think dinosaurs died? Little nostrils, big
Big bodies, little arms.
They didn't get enough oxygen, bro.
You want to know why the dinosaurs
They
died?
passed out.
I tell you why. They had little hands, couldn't scratch their ass.
Oh yeah, they died from not scratching their ass. It's kind of stupid.
Can you imagine if your ass is itching?
Oh, that
and
would've
you
killed
You
me
rub
too.
it on a freaking
Jeez.
tree. It's not that hard.
See your ass
There's
on
plenty
the
of
tree.
rocks there.
But you know what? Basically, the idea. Oh, he has it right here. It says gene testing, otherwise known as methylation testing, provides you with the most comprehensive snapshot of your body's health. They do it by taking a look at the enzymes.
So the enzymes are actually, like, you can say they're like the labor force of the body. So, you know, for example, you have the blueprints of the house, and the architect gives the blueprint to the laborers, so then the laborers can get to work. Then you have the DNA and the enzymes starting to obey what's coded on the DNA, and they start actually manifesting, you know, putting together amino acids and then proteins and molecules. And
Well, that's
they
what
just-
you know how you said earlier that we're like a machine, we're kind of moving and
We're
whatever.
a machine that's like crazy. How, like, just think about it. For example, when you're gonna build a house, you gotta get all the materials first, right? You gotta go make sure you have all the materials so you can actually start building the house. So our bodies eventually come from nothing. Like, the body that has the code, and all it needs is really for the mom to start, you know, just eating, and the nutrients that the earth is giving you, or is giving your mom, then they give the energy for the enzymes to start working, and then the enzymes start just manifesting things out of nothing.
Yeah, what they're saying is that they'll find out here. See, they say the methylation cycle. He says that cycle somewhere might be broken. So there's some things that you could actually inherit from your parents that could be a broken piece. Why? And it kind of makes sense why they say that you could also inherit you know, people say you're prone to high blood pressure, heart attacks, whatever. If your family is like, you know, they ask you, do you have heart attack history? Do you have? They're saying that there it could be little things that aren't properly working in there that you can specifically fix by taking that specific thing. Versus the doctor will say,
Just random.
well, they're saying they're treating everybody with the same medicine. So if you got
horrible.
blood pressure and he got blood pressure, we're gonna give you guys both. But they don't see what is causing it. They're just like, here, you both take
No,
this.
and sometimes he might have something else that could, like for example, he has heart disease and diabetes, or you know, just like something a secondary or even 3 diseases, and you give him a medicine for high blood pressure, but the side effect actually affects diabetes too. And if you also have diabetes, then the side effect of the medication for one thing messes up the other thing. And you know, that's why it starts affecting everyone differently.
Yeah.
So basically, don't lie to your doctor. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Because they always ask me,
they don't
like,
know.
Well, it's not that. It seems like the doctor doesn't really know, bro.
They don't.
The doc, and that's what this guy was saying too. He said that you'll go to the doctor, they'll give you a blood pressure medicine, like you said, and it'll affect a different part of the cycle, which actually in return mess you up even harder.
Worse, yeah.
So now they're talking about you might get anxiety, you might get problems, and it's got a lot to do. He speaks a lot about like gut health, and it says that even your problems like and depression, they're saying starts in the gut.
Yeah, well, there's no serotonin.
You get
being
that feel?
produced.
You ever see how
I get mad when I don't eat. Is that
but
like part of it?
well, you know how when you get hella nervous, you get that feeling in your gut.
Get angry.
That's your well. The gut, it's the second brain. So they say that we have 3 brains, 1, 2, and 3.
I think I only use this one. I only use my gut.
Well, the gut, that's where the immune system. So
That's why I eat so
right
much.
now during COVID, you know, everyone was panicking. They were talking about building your immune system and how you needed a healthy gut, and then you needed not to be afraid or have fear or be stressed out. So the immune system and the gut are very sensitive, where if there is any disruption or imbalances, the whole thing just goes. And sometimes you can actually have a super or a hyper immune system, which are allergies. So we call it allergy, but it's not allergy, it's your immune system attacking you, killing you, literally. So if you don't manage it well, then it can just go into a cytokine storm, and the cytokines will mess you up. Like it can attack an organ, it can attack your joints, it can attack different parts of the body.
Is that the same thing anorexic people have?
No, they're just not eating.
They're just anorexic, bro.
How the hell you not eat?
I don't know.
Well, I guess you don't get. Well, thing has to a lot like. It's your body image, you know. Like a lot of them, like I don't know if you ever seen like those like super skinny chicks, women that are saying that they're fat.
Oh yeah.
I was like, dude, you're super skinny. What are you talking about? Like, no, I'm fat. And it goes back to what I asked you earlier. You know, like the way we look in the mirror, you know, and let's say we're gonna get a new haircut. So we get a new haircut, and then we look in the mirror. It's like, oh shit, I look hella good. You know, I love it. So like in your self-image, it looks good. You go out on the street, people don't even notice it. So just because you like to you it looks good, to other people it doesn't. Like it's just a thing, you know. So the things that you find noticeable are actually speaking of your insecurities, of your emotional distress, more than what's actually there.
It's kind of like, you know how every time you see a picture, I don't know if you guys notice this, if you see a group photo, who's the first person you look at?
Yourself.
Yourself. And you always criticize yourself and, oh my God, I'm so fat, I got the triple chin, this, that. Yeah. But nobody's even looking at it.
Well, and then I'm telling you,
point out your care about
defects.
You in the picture. I need to look good, not you. I don't care about
that's
you.
what I'm saying.
But how do you know, like, for example, if you look at yourself and you say, I look good, how do you know other people are perceiving you the same way?
You don't. You
exactly.
Just,
so, like Lizzo.
So why, like,
Lizzo, right?
so why do you want to look good if you can even look at yourself? When was the last time you actually looked at yourself? Never. You've looked at a reflection of yourself, yes, many times, but you have never looked at yourself. So, all right, all that self-judgment.
You're about to pull up Lizzo?
All right, put the Lizzo on the screen right now.
Oh, my God.
All right, this is a test.
Yes,
Queen. All right, so y'all see Lizzo, right? Put the camera on Roy now.
Hey.
Put the camera on Roy.
Is this a compare?
Roy.
This is a compare and contrast right now? What's going on?
What the hell's happening? No.
Jeez.
Rate her, 1 to 10.
In what, like weight?
Well, no, this is the easiest test to see how everyone perceives differently.
I give her a 6.5.
Damn,
What?
that's good.
That's
I would not.
stupid high.
Well,
I'd give her
to
like a 1.
Okay,
Like,
Angel,
maybe I'll
put
go
the
out to
camera
eat
on
with her,
Angel.
but-
Angel, what do you give her?
Well, when it comes to looks or what are we
Whatever.
rating?
Just
What are we
whatever.
rating? You know,
Would
You
you
look-
go out with her?
I'm married, so.
If you weren't married, hypothetical.
If you got stuck with that for the rest of your life.
You know, we can probably go get something to eat. no, seriously.
You take her on a date.
I
Look,
would
I'm
go.
not-
I would
as a
go get some
person,
coffee
she knows
or
all the
something.
spots.
As
but
a person, I'm
that's
not-
about it. You know.
Look, as a person, I'm not saying
I
nothing wrong
just
with
don't
her.
find her
No.
attractive. You know.
Right, we don't.
But there are some people that find
I know.
thicker
I know.
women really
I know
attractive.
a couple guys.
Like,
So it goes back
There's
to
like
the point.
these two guys that
who-
work
like,
with me.
Who's so?
Just kidding. They're gonna clip this one.
I'm about to tag him. I'm about to tag him in
It's
this
good.
one.
We're so far into the podcast, they probably won't watch this far, so we're Gucci.
Yeah, we'll probably
We
wrap
could
it
talk
up.
shit. But no, but the thing is, like you said, everybody looks at themselves differently. Like somebody might find her attractive. I'm not really into big women, not by choice. So,
They're not big women. They're plus size.
like I don't normally get my women in the plus size section at the mall,
Why not?
but
Are you fat phobic?
No,
kind of, yeah, because that's like destructive to your body.
Oh my God.
It goes back to why are like most people that are overweight. It's their emotions. It's like every time you overeat, it's because you're trying to seek that dopamine. How the guy, I forgot his name, but you know how
Liver King.
dopamine.
Liver King, yeah.
So dopamine, typically you find it like ice cream. Like for example, when like the stereotype where you have a couple that breaks up, and then the girl or the boy breaks up with the girl, and the girl goes into like this depression mode, and then she goes into her room, locks herself up,
Cheats everything.
it starts watching just all these love movies, and it starts eating all this chocolate, all this ice cream. The love, like every time you watch something
He's laughing at
romantic,
the picture.
your brain releases dopamine.
Bro, take
Every
that
time
shit off the
you
screen.
start eating
My bad.
sugars, dopamine. So you're seeking that dopamine, and you seek the dopamine because you don't have enough serotonin.
Bro, she got hella dopamine.
Look why he's laughing.
And well, that's the
Throw
thing.
that shit
So
up, bro.
typically, your body produces dopamine, but since you're so depressed, your body's not producing it. So you're artificially making.
Trying to put it in there.
Yeah, and
That's what they say.
like,
Sugar's more addictive than like
the Coke.
Coke.
Like it's the most addictive drug in the world, but it's legal.
Yeah.
Alcohol is second, and it's legal.
Yep.
That's crazy because that's the thing I heard that if you get off sugar
Well,
for
who sponsors?
2-3 weeks,
Who
you're-
sponsors everything? Like you're watching a football game. Look at the sponsors.
Coke and Pepsi and the
Alcohol,
the alcohol.
Heineken.
Yeah,
you have
the last Super Bowl was
know.
Doritos.
And
Pepsi.
all of those cancer, it's just cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer. Like you mentioned earlier about the genes, a lot of the times, most of these diseases are not even genetic. The problem is that the kid eats the same diet as the parents.
Yeah, that's true.
So, so
What
you're
are they
going to
gonna
say,
eat
oh, it's
that?
genetic because my dad had it. Well, yeah, stop eating like your dad. And you might not have it.
Yeah.
But
That's
the fact
true.
that, if your dad wasn't born, if you weren't born with all those diseases, that means your environment gave them to you. And if you can actually start paying attention to the environment, then you can start preventing a lot of things. Because nowadays our food is dirty, our water is dirty, our air is dirty. So those are like the three main things we need to survive. So if all those three are dirty, then what's the consequence? Disease. So the body is not at ease. The body is not in harmony. There is a point where your body can be in full balance and harmony, where it can heal itself. We're not there at all.
How you get there?
By actually cleaning up your act, actually being mindful of what you're putting into your body.
So give us like 5 most important things you got to do to be healthy.
Well, and when it comes to water, you got to actually have a good filtration system. For example, most water bottles, if you actually look in the back, let me see. So it's purified drinking water. You can actually look right here, purified by reverse osmosis. So that's great because reverse osmosis is one of the best filtration systems. The only problem is that it's too good.
It's what? Too good?
Too good.
it takes out stuff that you need.
It strips the water from everything.
Delicious.
It
That's why it
literally
tastes so good?
strips it.
Put the water through the microwave.
Oh, like the minerals or whatever you could get through it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So natural water, like spring water?
Spring water is the best
Folsom Lake
because
water?
it contains all the electrolytes. It contains the minerals that your body
The
actually
only thing
needs.
is it tastes so off. I'm not used to it.
Well, minerals have a taste to it. If it has zero taste, then it probably has nothing.
You're talking about like well water?
Or
actually,
spring water,
well
like you buy at
water,
the
you
store?
gotta test it because nowadays, if you live close to like fields, for example, in San Joaquin Valley here in California, their groundwater has fertilizers.
Yeah, that water does taste funky.
So here's a very interesting thing I heard, and they're saying the guy who talked about it. I saw it on YouTube. He said everybody thinks it's a conspiracy, but check this out. There's a lot of women who are on birth control, right? And they're saying all the birth control that they're having, whatever. And when they pee, they put it into the water, goes out into wherever it goes. They're saying that, especially if they recycle the water or whatever, and we start drinking it, and they're saying that may be a reason why we have so many feminine men nowadays.
No, it's no. Actually, there is it's in a fertilizer. Actually, it's not really in birth control. It's atrazine. You can look it up.
And
Can you have internet? Yeah, put atrazine.
How do you spell that?
I think they just need a good ass whooping.
With the A, atra.
This one?
No.
He knew how to spell it. He wanted to keep Lizzo up there.
No, you gotta.
No.
Yeah, no.
Okay, how do you spell it? ATRAZ. This one? Z-I-N-E?
Atrazine.
Yep, that one.
Okay.
So atrazine. So it's a herbicide. So there was this scientist that actually used some toads. So he had 2 toads, and then he was injecting one with atrazine. And it got to the point. So animals don't have sex for pleasure. Humans do, and a few other species do. But most animals is reproduction. So after shooting this toad up with atrazine, it got to the point where the male toad started humping the other male toad.
That's gay.
It created a gender confusion. So the toad being injected with the atrazine couldn't differentiate from a male or a female.
So are you...
He just wanted to hump something.
And
damn,
there was this doctor, I forgot his name.
They're making people gay?
So there was a doctor that actually discovered this, a different doctor. And as soon as he discovered, he called his wife. So the wife is the one that actually gave it to the public because the doctor got killed.
Mm-hmm.
So he figured this out. He called his wife, told the wife, and on his way home, he died. And then the wife made it public that, the husband had called her and told her all this stuff, how there was these chemicals in the foods that were making
So does that mean, is that what's causing like gender dysphoria?
Oh, it's confusion. Isn't
that what gender dysphoria is? A confusion between what sex you are?
Basically what it is.
That's pretty much, and that's what the side effect of that chemical is.
And if we look on here, if you look at the things that they're putting it in, they talk about field corn, sweet corn. I don't know how to say that.
Sorghum.
Yeah,
sugar
used to
cane.
control annual grasses and broadleaf. So yeah, it's a pesticide straight up.
And it's used all over, and it looks like it's coming
Field
straight
corn
from
and most of the food we eat comes
so
from
nowadays,
corn.
Different scientists have figured out how to mess up with the energy of the body through chemicals. So the body, it's a chemical factory. The body produces chemicals all the time, but they were finding out how other chemicals can actually have a certain effect, once it comes in and interacts with our own chemicals. And that's through vaccines. They actually there was this video of this guy giving a presentation. I'm not sure exactly where it was, but there was military personnel. I don't know if it was at the Pentagon or if it was at a military facility. But in the presentation, he was literally talking about how with a specific vaccine, like a well-developed vaccine, you could sever humans' connection to the divine, or you could sever the body from the soul. that they had figured out a way to do it. And with that, you can actually become a machine. Like, you can listen. For example, your empathy goes away. You're
like
not
a psychopath.
empathic. Well, you become a psychopath, like kind of what Hitler did with crystal meth. To his soldiers, to create that super soldier that has no feelings, that will just fucking kill. That.
So yeah,
and
that's crazy.
through chemicals. And same thing with all these metals, mercury, aluminum, other chemicals also in the vaccines. They're making a way. So right now in Chinese medicine that I'm studying, we have all these meridians, energy points in our bodies with acupuncture.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have 12 channels, literally channels of energy that run through the body. And each channel is connected to certain organs. And the one thing that starts messing up the whole energy, it's metals. And it talks how in ancient times, that was the way you would, like, if you wanted to really hurt someone, you would start putting heavy metals in them.
Mm-hmm.
And that would just disrupt the body's function big time. And
like a way of poisoning them.
The flu shot has mercury and aluminum.
Well, in Egypt times, they used to have makeup with, what was it, mercury or lead. And they used to actually get lead poisoning or mercury poisoning, and the pharaohs used to go crazy because of it. Like they would eat away at their brain, and they would just go crazy and do all kinds of crazy stuff because of the makeup that they would use.
Well, yeah, because even now, how they're getting the lead out of the paint and all this and that.
Well, you know why?
Huh?
Well, the whole thing of getting all the lead from the paint, it's frequency. The 5G, the whole 5G gig that's going on, especially here in Sacramento. Lead, it's a blocker. So frequencies don't go through lead. So let's
if you
say
wrap your phone in lead,
so why would they
dies
take that
completely.
away then?
Damn.
Well,
Isn't that a good thing?
Well, no, because if they want to target everyone, if they want, for example, if you have an antenna and you're going to be shooting at a frequency, electromagnetic frequency tuned in at a certain frequency. So each thought that we have, if you're happy, your thoughts are registered at a certain frequency. If you're depressed, that's a different frequency. So they have all these different frequencies that have to do with our moods, and they can actually shoot you with a certain frequency that can get you depressed, can get you angry, can get you upset.
They do that through music too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, like, if you wanted to feel happy, what kind of frequency music would you listen to?
528 hertz.
528 hertz.
Yes.
And what kind of music? Do you have an example? What song?
It's just you would say kind of like not classical strictly, but it's just very soothing sounds.
Kind of like the ones you like on YouTube. There's a lot of music that you kind of listen to, fall asleep.
Well, that every night, like that's what I like.
Like meditation music and stuff.
Yeah, well, a lot of meditation music is tuned in to those frequencies.
Oh,
so you have like 396, 417, 432, 528, 639.
So the higher the better, or
different parts of the body. So so we're complex beings. So different parts of different organs, different parts of the body function at a different frequency. So nowadays they're using sound therapy. So through sound therapy, actually you can kill cancer cells. In the 30s, in 1936, I believe, 37, there was this scientist. His last name was Rife, and there was a machine, the Rife machine, they called it. So in the 30s, in the 1930s, he, with that machine, which was a frequency machine, he was able to kill cancer cells. Now, with the same process, recently, actually, they were using it, and it was killing off leukemia cells.
So, I read about that in the, not about leukemia, but I heard, what's that disease where you start to like forget stuff?
Alzheimer's.
I think Alzheimer's. I heard that they were treating it with sound, just like you said. They were doing sound therapy, and I think it was this was in the book that Tony Robbins wrote called Life Force. So that's pretty interesting that we heard that.
Yep. No, and even like for Alzheimer's, so like you can actually start regenerating portions of the brain. In Spain, they are doing. They have been experimenting with ayahuasca, which is a brew that different civilizations have taken to connect to the divine, So ayahuasca actually means the vine of the soul. So it was a brew that it was made in the Amazon, and you would pretty much, you will take it and you would, it's DMT at the end of the day. It's a natural form of NN-DMT, and it would tap you in, it would connect you. And so they found out that it has like psychedelic therapy, but it also regenerates your neurons. So it starts regenerating the brain. And
interesting.
So it has a physical aspect of it, which is therapeutic, and it has a mental aspect of it.
So it sounds like, it sounds like there's a lot of stuff that's from back in the day that
everything is from back in the day. Everything is ancient.
All the ancient stuff,
back.
we're acting like we're trying to figure it out, but we should have damn near known.